Welcome to A Voice of Reason in Turbulent Times with Pastor Charles Burnett-Morrow. A powerful, practical, prophetic, and progressive commentary about what is happening in our world today.
Folks, I said from day one that Donald Trump came down the escalator at Trump Tower. I lived in New York City for 10 years. Many of my family members came to visit me while I was in New York because I was a built-in tour guide. You know, I was able to take them around and show them around town. And one of the points of interest that I would always take them to was Trump Tower. You go into the lobby of Trump Tower, and it was very impressive. It was beautiful, you know. It was very impressive. When he came down that escalator that day, made his first speech, I turned to Tommy. I made two declarations. One, this is the guy that this plan in the Republican Party has been waiting for. Said, this is the man they've been waiting for. He is able and willing to do everything they want him to do. And I said, secondly, he is Adolf Hitler reincarnate. I saw in his campaign that he was literally using every technique that was employed by Adolf Hitler. He was preaching angst and anger and frustration. He was promoting hatred of the other guy, which in the first case was Hillary Clinton and then later Joe Biden. He was preaching hatred of his enemies, so-called, the Democrats. They're all wicked. Oh, how many times have you heard him say on television, in the news, these people are evil people. These are evil. Why is he using this language? Because this language appeals to his base. This language immediately rings in the ears of the religious right. So these people are evil. These people, you know, and he puts them all in one basket. All of these things, for every one of these things that I'm telling you now, this is how Hitler was able to accomplish in Germany what he accomplished. And Trump used every single tactic that Hitler employed. He found a group to demonize and to blame for all our ills. Immigrants, especially illegal immigrants. He used language that dehumanized them. They're vermin. Hitler called the Jews rats. Guess what rats are? They're vermin. So Trump was saying the identical same thing. He was simply using a different word. Hitler's theme was make Germany great again. Donald Trump's theme was make America great again. Hitler said use short slogans, just use short phrases that convey what you're wanting to do. He said hate is more powerful than dislike. So you want to make the people hate your opposition, not dislike them. Now, don't stand there and say, like John McCain did as he ran against Barack Obama, don't say, he's a good man, he's an American, he's a family man, we just happen to disagree on policy. Don't do that, because that's not going to work, Hitler said. No, Hitler said, you've got to make your supporters hate the opposition. Hate them. There is nothing more demonic than this in all the world, folks. Everything I'm talking about. Hitler said, tell lies, because in the end, it's all about victory. It doesn't matter if you lie in order to achieve victory, so long as you achieve victory. He said, tell big lies, because the bigger the lie, the more likely people are to believe it. That's what Hitler said. Hitler said his reasoning was When someone who is at that level in society tells some big, enormous, humongous, in-your-face, full of baloney lie, most people, especially the uneducated, the ignorant, those that don't know better, they're going to say, well, why in the world would he be lying about that? Why would somebody in that running for president of the United States, why in the world would how could he possibly tell something that was an outright lie? During the last campaign, people in this town over here have reported that these Haitians are killing and eating their pets. Demonstrably a lie. News outlets, politicians called that city and inquired about these accusations, and they were told over and over again, these accusations are false, there's no value in them. However, what did Trump and Vance do? They kept repeating them over and over and over. Why? Because Hitler said. Tell a lie and repeat it often, and the masses will believe it. Again, he was using Hitler's playbook, folks. I saw that from minute one. Every single tactic that Donald Trump has employed in order to achieve power came from Adolf Hitler's playbook. Anybody who has studied Hitler at all, studied his rise to power, would know this to be so. And I saw it from word one. And I said, this is exactly what this element within the Republican Party has been waiting for. They have been waiting for this kind of man. Someone who can lie and lie and lie and not even blink, not have any problem with telling the biggest lies in the world, and someone who can be so committed to that lie that under no circumstances will he give an inch to even suggest for a moment that what he's saying may not be true. And to this minute, Donald Trump has never backed down on the notion that Haitians were eating cats and dogs. He never, ever, ever backed down from that, folks. He never apologized for that. He never said, maybe I was wrong. Never, to this day. Because Hitler said, the minute you even give in on the least thing, Hitler said, then you have exposed yourself as weak. So you do not, under any circumstances, ever back down on anything that you say. Now, I want to read to you an article or parts, not the entire article. The entire article is quite long. But I'm going to read a portion or portions from the World History Encyclopedia. This is also available online. The rise of Adolf Hitler, 1889 to 1945. He was born in 1889, died in 1945. The Nazi dictator of Germany from 1933 was enabled by those already in power, eager to take advantage of his popularity. The Republicans were eager to take advantage of Trump's popularity. Those who were already in power, the Lindsey Grahams, the Mitch McConnells, They were eager to take advantage of his popularity. And they were already in power. Listen, was enabled by those already in power, eager to take advantage of his popularity. Hitler promised, listen, to make Germany great again. After the humiliation of World War I, by restoring, listen, Germany's lost territories, so conquest. I've been warning, I warned long before Trump made a single comment about Mexico or Canada and annexing Canada. I literally went online and said, do not be surprised when Trump begins to talk about invading Canada and or Mexico. And the United States should be from from the Arctic region all the way down to the tip of Mexico, because that would make us far more secure. That would make it much easier for us to secure our borders, and that would give us so many great resources. Oh, our nation would be larger, we'd be bigger, we'd be better, we'd be more powerful, we'd have so much more wealth in terms of resources. Watch, folks, I'm telling you, I've been saying this to Tommy for years. I told him that this was going to happen. So he promised he would make Germany great again by restoring Germany's lost territories, returning, listen, to traditional German values, achieving full employment, and destroying those he labeled enemies, like communists and Jewish people. Hitler's rise to power was a surprisingly long process, involving many steps and several significant setbacks, such as his imprisonment following the failed coup known as the Beer Hall Push in November 1923. The failed coup. Setbacks. Gee, let's see. Failed coup. What would that be? January 6th. Setbacks. Trump lost the election. He had to sit out 4 years while Biden was in office. Do you see similarities here? It's like history is literally repeating itself. Hitler's rise to power effectively took a decade, with the Nazi Party gaining just 12 seats in elections for the German Reichstag, which is their parliament, in 1928, from a total of 491 seats in that election that were up. They only got 12 out of 491 seats. They got 107 seats in 1930, 230 seats in July 1932, 196 seats in November 1932, and 288 seats in 1933. Once securely in power as chancellor in 1933, Hitler quickly eliminated all opposition and established a totalitarian regime with himself as undisputed dictator, Germany's Führer. Now listen to some of the reasons given for Adolf Hitler's rise to power and the Nazi Party's rise to power. The harsh terms of the Treaty of Versailles riled many Germans, especially the guilt clause for starting World War I. And traditional political parties were tarnished by association with the signing of the treaty. Hitler promised to overturn the treaty and restore German pride. Let's see. Trump hasn't pulled us out of any organizations and cooperative affiliations around the world, has he? Because Hitler said the only affiliations that any government should ever have ought to be for the purpose of war. He said any other associations are useless. World Health Organization, useless. Doesn't have anything to do with helping us fight a war. We don't need NATO. We're too big and powerful. We don't need NATO. They need us. We don't need them. Pulling out of the Paris Accord. We don't need to be part of that. Doesn't have anything to do with war. They're not helping us fight a war. We don't need anything to do with that. Secondly, the fallout of the Great Depression led to mass unemployment and hyperinflation, leading voters to turn to more extreme political parties. It's interesting because post-COVID, our economy went into an inflationary status. Prices began to rise. What drove voters to vote for Trump the second time around? Exactly what drove Germans to the polls to vote for Hitler. Listen, reason number 3, the weakness and ineptitude of successive Weimar Republic coalition governments. In other words, our Congress, former Congresses, former presidents, never able to get anything done. They're never able to do anything. Nothing's ever accomplished. So this guy, boy, he comes across as strong. He'll be able to get things done. Previous governments have been ineffective and weak. Exactly what happened and has happened in America. Hitler promised full employment, meaning everybody in the country would have a job, through such programs as road building and rearmament. So in other words, let's move into a wartime economy. Let's start beefing up our military. Let's start buying more planes. Let's start building more tanks. Let's start producing more bombs and bullets. Why? I'm only doing this because it's going to help with jobs. That's the only reason Noah didn't. He knew exactly what he was doing. He was preparing for his ultimate first step of invading Poland. In return for their support, listen to this next reason. In return for their support, Hitler promised business leaders lucrative state contracts, such as arms manufacturing. This idea was also popular with the German army. Another reason, Hitler appealed to traditional German beliefs like the greatness of the nation, strong family values, and a classless society. Does any of this sound familiar, folks? Next, Hitler promised an expansion of Germany. Listen, to find new lands, and Lebensraum, meaning living space, where the German people could prosper. Expansion. We haven't heard anything. I've been warning about that for years, but We haven't heard Trump talk about expansion. We haven't heard him talk about taking over Greenland and Canada. No. He hasn't said a word about expansion. Yes, he has. Listen, Hitler used propaganda to identify what the Nazis described as common enemies of the state, such as outsiders, or in America we say immigrants, and Jewish people, who he claimed were holding Germany back. Now listen to the next reason that Hitler and the Nazi Party rose to power. A cult of Hitler was created, which promoted the idea that he was the savior of Germany. Does this sound at all familiar, folks? Let me ask you, what other podcast is sharing this information with you? I'm the smallest guy on the planet. I probably got 5 people watching this right now at the moment. How many podcasts are sharing this information with you? How many are talking about this today? This needs to be on every podcast. Midas Network, you need to be reading these articles. Steve Schmidt, you need to be reading these articles. Most American people, I've studied history. I've read this stuff decades ago. But I'm sharing it with you today so that you can see. This has been online. This has been published for years and years and years. This is not stuff that was published in response to Donald Trump being elected to the White House. This information, folks, has been out there for many, many decades, since World War II. Another reason Nazis and Hitler came to power. The establishment thought that by inviting Hitler to power, they could better control the Nazi phenomenon and benefit from its popularity themselves. Again, the Republicans who at first were acting like, oh, we don't like, when Donald Trump was running for president, oh, if he gets elected, he'll destroy our party. He's terrible. We don't like the way he talks. We don't like what he says. We don't like his ideas, blah, blah, blah. But as he rose in popularity, all of a sudden, as he began to take the nomination, all of a sudden, man, they all turned tail. They all turned right around, fell right in line, and said, wait a minute, we can use this guy. We can use that popularity. We can utilize his influence and his popularity to benefit the Republican Party, whether we be so-called MAGA or not. The only problem is those who are now willing to join the Nazis, the MAGA, have been dropping out. They've been leaving office. I'm not running again. Lastly, once made chancellor, Hitler used his power, listen folks, because this is coming, to eliminate rivals. He ensured the German parliament had little power and began to establish a dictatorship with himself as the undisputed head of a one-party police state. The fascist National Socialist German Workers' Party, NSDAP, or Nazi Party for short, was founded in 1920. The party was neither socialist nor at all interested in workers. But Adolf Hitler had chosen the name to give his ultra nationalist party as wide an appeal as possible. Make America great again, the widest appeal possible. And MAGA, Hitler, I keep calling Trump Hitler. Said, in my mind, they are the same. Trump keeps saying, oh, well, you know, this person's MAGA, that person's MAGA. He's literally, he's not saying they're Republican, this one's Republican, that one's, no, saying this person's MAGA, so I like her. This person's MAGA, so I like him. Folks, I keep saying it over and over again. Nobody's listening, but I keep saying, MAGA is the new Nazi party. Get it in your head. They were neither socialist nor at all interested in workers. Got news for you. That's true of the modern Nazi party too. But Adolf Hitler chose the name for the widest appeal possible. Hitler was able to exploit the anti-establishment feeling, as the Nazis were complete outsiders. Sound familiar, folks? Marjorie Taylor Greene. Oh, she's MAGA all the way. She's an outsider. She's not a Washington insider. I'm there to rabble-rouse. I'm there to stir things up. I'm just going to say what needs to be said. What's going on? As early as 1925, in his book Mein Kampf, which means my struggle in German, Hitler promised to abolish the terms of Versailles and create a new, quote, greater Germany. I saw that Trump was using the Hitler handbook from the first day of his campaign. I said, my God, he sounds like Hitler. Every technique Hitler employed, Trump has employed and is employing. Right now, he is running roughshod over our Constitution. This is not a joke. This is not a drill. This is not... There is nothing in what I'm about to say that is the least bit funny. There is nothing about what I'm about to say that is the least bit mild. I'm just going to say what needs to be said. They are purposely, meaningfully unraveling our democracy, folks. We are not going to have a democratic republic. I'm not sure how long it's going to take, but it's not going to take very long. Hitler took him 53 days to effectively accomplish that end and to establish a flat-out dictatorship. He did everything he did within legal means. He utilized the legal processes to literally undo the government and to abolish the government.
A voice of reason in turbulent times with Pastor Charles Burnett-Morrow, speaking truth at a time when truth is in short supply.